some time to digest. Thought about it a little bit today.
Yay!
Let's talk about this shitty movie.
Fuck you. Wow.
Dang. Coming out with hot takes.
Good God.
Before it even starts.
My God, you're just coming out the gate swinging. Alright.
Movie sucked.
Anyway.
Let's get on with the review.
So, I guess before we start, do you have any outline or points, or are we just going?
We're just going.
Okay.
Yeah, just talking about the movie, just chit-chatting, chillaxing, maxing all cool, shooting b-ball outside the school.
Cool.
Yeah, was there any sort of points or anything y'all had in mind or anything?
No, not at all.
Awesome.
What? Crazy. What are the same questions I ask you after every movie? We gotta talk about the plot.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about the whether or not it actually achieved its goal. What was the goal? We got all these questions, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Was it a good movie? The rating.
The rating.
It's the important
I
part.
didn't even think of a rating.
You didn't even think of a rating? Come on, how many movies have we watched together?
I know, it's just hard to quantify, hierarchy, putting a number to art.
I know, right? Like, I think one time I remember giving, like, Marshaun asked me what the rating was.
That's a number.
That's true.
Yeah. Marshaun asked me once, like, how I would rate a movie, and then he asked me how I would rate a different movie, and he's just like, so you're saying this movie is on the same par as this other movie? And I was just like, no, hang on. That's not, I don't like that.
You gotta put, what's the point of it? Just, you gotta compare and contrast. You can learn things, is how you learn things.
Anyway.
Whatever.
I already hit record, so I'm just waiting for...
Oh, hello.
We've been recording this whole time.
Yes.
That's what we call a cold open.
Well, I mean, I wasn't gonna actually, I'm gonna cut all of this stuff. It's just my laptop's so far away. So I was gonna wait till we were all settled, and then I was gonna do my opening, and I'll just cut everything else out. But I mean, unless y'all want to
do the opening.
Okay.
For the love of God, the people are waiting.
Welcome back to a Creative Cast, everybody. I'm your host, Cali, and today I have with me...
Christopher.
And Marshaun.
Yay! And today we're talking about Raya and the Last Dragon. Yay!
Woo, 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 woo.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't need a soundboard.
We do need a soundboard.
Yeah, Chris.
There we go. Who needs a soundboard when you got a Chris?
Yes, I am the soundboard.
He's the
Just poke me and I make noises.
Anyway, I guess we're going to, as these two take precariously long sips from their drinks, we're going to talk about Raya. We're going to talk about Raya and the last... What is the official title of this movie?
Raya and the Last Dragon.
And the Last Dragon.
Yes, it came out in theaters a few months ago, but only a few days ago it became free on Disney Plus. So y'all can go watch it if you haven't already. But we've seen it. I've seen it twice now. Chris has seen it.
First time last night.
Mm-hmm. And Marshaun,
I watched it once.
he's watched it once like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
So we got 3 perspectives here, and we just gonna talk about the movie. None of us are professional cinematographers or movie people in any way, but we like to talk about movies and review them, and that's what we're doing today on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I disagree with that statement. I am a professional dumbass. Couldn't even get the line out. You see what I mean?
God. Actually, I guess technically I'm a professional cinematographer because of the music video, but that's semantics.
Yeah. We're professionals. Just not in this realm.
Yes, there we
Or
go.
professional something.
Professional something. There we go. I want that on a shirt.
That's great. Or a professional something. Anyway, Raya, let's not get too far off topic here.
Yeah, not this soon.
Chris, I think I'll structure this like I usually structure our film reviews.
Yes.
Our like post movie conversations. And I'll be asking you because it was your first time seeing the film. But I guess the first question would be, how do you feel overall about this film? How did you feel about Raya and the Last Dragon?
Overall, positive. I'll say positive. I don't think it's like all-time the best on like any of the criteria we'll talk about, but I think it was a unique movie and a solid plot, and overall I liked it.
Alright. Nice to hear. And Carolyn, you're here too. I wanna
Yeah, I'm here too. Yes.
get your opinion on things sometimes.
Oh, gee, thanks.
How
Yeah.
did you feel about this movie? You seemed really excited to see it. I remember that we all watched the trailer together in this living room.
Yes.
And I was immediately not impressed by this film.
You were very, very uninterested. It was very vague and kind of run of the mill trailer. I think you were I was interested in it because pretty dragons and cool scenes and nice graphics and stuff, which I mean is to be expected from like Disney at this point. But you were just like, oh look, it's a generic person who's looking for the last of the thing to save the world and and the same story we've seen a million times.
Pretty much, yeah. It seemed very formulaic from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, yeah, I've already predicted the end of this film. And I wasn't really wrong, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Yeah. I also kind of had a similar reaction between trailers, because like normally I'm not super opposed to like spoilers and stuff, because I'm just like, oh, it's about the journey and things like that, and sometimes a spoiler will even make me more excited to see the ending, because I'm just like, whoa, how did we get from point A to point B? I need the context to thank you. But Raya was one of the few movies or pieces of media that I actually avoided looking for spoilers for. I aside from like the trailers and stuff, I didn't look at or watch anything. I think I got one spoiler at one point, but it was out of context, so I had no idea what was happening, and it was wrong anyway, so who cares? But what's it called? I remember, like, in the first trailer, everything was generic, but there was also that hint of mystery with, like, the Last Dragon and things like that. And I thought that was really neat. But then in, like, one of the following trailers, they showed Sisu being a much bigger part of the movie. And at first I was kind of a little disappointed, because like, the previous trailers had built up Sisu to kind of feel like this, like, kind of, the MacGuffin, almost, instead of the Dragon Gem being the MacGuffin. Spoilers, also, I feel like I should say. This is a spoilery review podcast thing.
Yeah, well, there's gonna be heavy spoilers. We're not trying to save anything.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gonna watch it, go watch it.
Yeah, go watch it. Or don't watch it and get all the spoilers and then just watch it anyway. And yeah. You live your life. Who are we to judge? Anyway, where was I going with this?
You were talking about Sisu.
Yeah, and
MacGuffins.
yeah, and I was kind of disappointed, because I was just like, oh, they like just spoiled the whole like dragon, and then it was just like, oh well, she's maybe like that's. I think I was talking to one of you guys, or maybe both of you, about it, and it being like that's probably on purpose. She's probably a bigger part of the movie, so why would they hide her? I was just like, well, yeah, I guess. Anyway, I've been talking for a while. Marshaun, you go.
Did you want like a big? I don't know. I guess I don't have to get that far into it right now. But what were you expecting from this whole dragon thing? Like, let's get this out of the way now. You went gaga over the film because of the dragon.
I do like dragons very much.
And I was just like, just because there's a dragon in it, that's not going to get me hype, okay? So, this movie, from the very beginning, just seemed like, oh, Chris is gone. He's run away.
He's left us.
He'll be back. From right off the bat, I was just like, okay, I kind of see where this film was going already, and it's going to be alright. But it's Disney, you know? Maybe it'll change my mind. But yeah, no, everything I'd seen trailer-wise up until we actually watched the film, I was just like, yeah, I kind of saw that this whole film was just kind of very linear. And I was just like, alright, cool. I've already seen Moana. But actually, I think Moana did what it was doing better, but again, we'll get into it later. Shit, man. I'm so mad about this movie, no?
Oh my gosh. Dang, I didn't think he would be so heated.
I like that you bring that up, because so much of my time watching the movie was thinking about Moana.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons, but we'll get into the reasons later, but it's just the movie did have that sense of like kind of generic like storyline, like progression. Kind of predictable. I will say the like visual treatment and like the cultural references and stuff is what really made like the uniqueness of the movie for me. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I agree. It feeling familiar.
And yeah, I wouldn't even say that that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, a film does not have to be solely original by any means. I don't know how deep I want to go into like bigger overarching feelings about everything. I guess that wouldn't be deep, would it? Just generally, I found, like you said, familiar is a pretty good word. It was formulaic. It was familiar. It just felt like we'd seen this type of story so many times, and I think I'm starting to get into a phase in my relationship with Disney movies where I kind of don't care anymore, which is bad because I'm like the biggest Disney diehard fan.
Yeah.
But like I kind of just I watch a trailer at this point and I'm just like I know where this is going. I'm so used to it, and it's so bad because of my obsession with watching anime now, where it's like in any random animated series I can watch, it'll randomly go from like this random slice of this. I keep saying random. It'll go from this nice posh slice of life into a fucking psychotic horror out of nowhere, and it completely drops the G rating and turns to a hard R, and it's just like, oh my god. I like those subversions, and I like that a story can like just completely surprise me and flip the script and be interesting and original. I feel like the people who give Disney their money are just like, I feel like these stories are coming out of Disney, and good stories are coming out of Disney, and good perspectives are coming out of Disney, but I feel like they can't explore all of the ideas that they want to because the people who give them money are like, no, too political, or no, you're going to upset a lot of parents. And it's lame to see like what could have been a good story be slapped because we can't get weird with our storytelling. They're experimental.
Yeah, that's a interesting idea. Like, you know, we say that the storyline is predictable and like familiar and stuff like that. And I feel like there's a lot of negative connotation to that. which to us it is kind of a negative review in the sense that, like, you know, we've seen this before. It's like, I don't want to say boring, but like predictable. But I guess if you look at it from a different perspective, it's like it nailed that storyline on its head, so to speak. Like it nailed the classic like Disney storyline progression well, I think. So in that sense, and to the perspective of someone who doesn't watch as many animated movies and things as we do, then did it do a good job?
I think that's a really good perspective to bring up because, well, I feel like, yeah, like the connotation, like, oh, we've seen this story a million times, like that's become a negative connotation and a negative review. Recently, I've been thinking about how, like, so what if it's the story that's been told a million times? Some people do nail it really well. I mean, granted, this is a bias here, but How to Train Your Dragon, like, the first movie was, like, the storyline is something that we've seen a million times. An outcast kid gets popular and does all this cool stuff, and, like, it's a storyline that we've seen before, but they execute it in such a wonderful, beautiful way that you almost don't care, or you just don't even think about that because you're so wrapped up in the characters and the story and the scene and like the environment and everything that, at least for me, like I didn't care. It was just such a good movie and such a great. I just had such a good time watching it, and I think it was something that you mentioned earlier, Marshaun, was like, what was the goal of the movie, and did they execute it well? And if our goal of the movie was to tell that story, I don't remember the specific name of the trope, but, you know, like the last one standing trope, I guess you want to say. They did it well. They did it well, and I think, and they hit it on the head. They did it pretty swinkily. And they had, like, good themes and stuff in it, great visuals. Yeah, really great visuals. And yeah, they had like good themes and like some interesting like lessons along the way. I didn't fully see the review, but I remember like seeing a few people talk about the interesting morality that Raya that's in Raya, and like is how it sort of challenges like ethics and morals and things like that, and kind of shows like the different perspectives, I guess. But that's something that we can get into in a little bit. Yeah.
I'd actually be really interested to hear about that, because like I've been looking around for something interesting to say about like because like I feel like for all of the bullying we seem to be doing, or some of us seem to be doing on the film, I wouldn't say that Raya's a bad movie. I wouldn't be the person to be like, yeah, it's bad, don't go watch it. I think it's definitely worth a watch.
Oh, for sure. Like, I've seen it twice, and I enjoyed it thoroughly both times. I got to see extra little details in the backgrounds and the characters, and, like, kind of notice certain, like, thematic stuff a little more, and it was pleasant. Definitely worth watching.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mm-hmm. I just think... Shit, I lost my place again.
Sorry.
Goodness. I don't think the movie was bad. And I don't think it did what it was trying to do poorly. But what it was trying to do might be the part where there's a bit of a subjective area there. Like, you wouldn't be able to say, like... I don't know. I'm going to come back to this thought later. Chris, you were going to say something.
Well, I guess we should kind of, either for people who haven't seen the movie and don't plan on seeing the movie, or, you know, people that have seen it like a while ago, kind of refresh like the kind of like the themes and what was the movie trying to achieve, and like go over that real quick. So I think on the surface, the movie was all centered around the idea of trust. Having trust in other people, and not, I guess, being bitter and being like it's better to do things together. Like you can do more together than alone, and resentful.
Yeah.
Being more than the sum of your parts.
Yeah.
And I guess like even like going further beyond that, like the Droon in the movie, they literally say that they're born from human discourse. Like, it's literally a personification of distrust and hate, literally tearing the world apart. So thematically and like story-wise, that's right on the money right there. Yeah.
That's exactly what the problem would be for me, though. It's too on the nose. I feel like a lot of the story was it was just very on the nose. It was very, like, in your face about what it was trying to do and say, and, like, some of the jokes hit, but they don't. Or most of the jokes don't hit for me personally. I don't know, I just think, like, characters were their stereotypes, and then that was it. And, like, areas in the movie, like, settings and everything were their stereotypes. We didn't really get to explore too much of anything because there were so many characters and so many things going on.
Yeah, that is something that I actually would have liked more, which, like, I realize that the movie's already 2 hours, so, like, I don't know, maybe splitting it up with the intention of creating a sequel, because, like, I said, I was genuinely interested in the world and the characters and, like, this environment and culture they created. And I would have loved to see that more, and would have loved for the characters to have been explored more in their, especially, like, the group dynamic. Like, I really like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree in that was one of my biggest, like, I guess disappointments with the movie, was this feeling that there was this, like, huge enormous world and this, like, big group of characters, and we really got, like, the fastest version of what it could be.
Yeah.
And, like, the environments and the worlds that they were going to are so cool and unique, and it was unfortunate that, like, some of them we only spent, let's say 15 minutes of screen time in.
Yeah.
So, while, yeah, I understand that there's only so much you can fit into a feature film, it's, I think, an interesting discussion to be had of what stories should be in feature films and what should be allocated to other mediums.
Yeah.
Like, the idea of, like, creating a world, like a unique world, is... it's something that's hard, like, I personally think is not suited for a movie that, like, a standalone movie. Like, it's either something like the, let's say the Harry Potter universe that has all the books and the multiple, like, 8 movies, I think. Or, a manga or something.
Yeah.
Something where you have a lot of time and a lot of different, I guess, like, different arcs to explore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas, a single movie it's hard to really get invested in the world, as cool as it may look.
Yeah, for sure. Because it did look really cool. But yeah, maybe if this was, like, I don't know, even giving it, like, the, I almost want to call them mini-series because they're so short, but, like, WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like, giving them that, like, almost if they gave the movie that treatment where it was just, like, a few, like, hour-long episodes, like, I feel like that would have been pretty cool. I feel like that would have been able to allow the world to breathe and the characters to interact and kind of, I don't know, just exist more. Because, like, obviously, like, because, like, the characters in the main band, I genuinely thought they were really cool and interesting, and, like, they obviously all have this shared bond of loss. Like, they lost their families to the Droon, and, like, it's kind of interesting to see their, like, character interactions and all of this stuff. Like, especially I think his name is Tong, and I can't remember the baby's name. Yeah.
Well, no, don't remember.
Said like once or twice, and
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah. But like, it's like he lost his child to the Droon. Like, his child was turned to stone. They didn't show that, which makes sense. But like, and so because of that, he kind of got this like really deep connection to the baby, because, you know, baby like, and I thought that was really sweet. And I kind of, and what's that called? And just like beyond that, just like the sort of found family that they gain with each other, by sharing the sorrow of the loss of their families. There was so much to explore there, but they didn't get the chance to. Right. And so it kind of felt like their bond with each other was so rushed and kind of forced.
Yeah.
And it's just like, like, I want to love this so much more, but you didn't give me a lot to love.
Yeah. I think a good way to describe it is, like, somehow they made a 2-hour movie a summary of the story.
Yeah! And I have no idea how they did that. Like, it's 2 hours long!
Yeah.
Let me help you out here. Take Avatar. And take only the season opening and closing from each season and watch just that. There you go.
Yeah.
That's all you know of the show.
My god.
Yeah. That's a really good comparison.
I mean, it's the same type of story.
Yeah.
It's a buddy travel story. It's the same type of story. Like, it goes over a very similar arc. I mean, it's a very typical, like, hero's journey. You know, you have to start in one place, and the hero has to go off on a journey. And go off to all the nations, and, you know, stop the Fire Nation. Or Talon. Is Talon the bad guy in this one?
Kind of. That's sort of one of the things is, like, the interesting, like, morals and ethics was the real bad guy was the Droon. That's, like, the only hardcore villain. Everyone else is just antagonists and people who aren't necessarily bad, but are out for themselves. How Talon expresses, like, they didn't mean for the world to break apart, but they did mean to steal the gem, which would have caused, like, discourse anyway. But I digress. But they were just looking out for their people, and it's kind of hard to fault somebody for that. But at the same time, it's just like, you could have used better methods, my dude.
Time out there for a second. Is the Droon the villain of the film? Question of the day.
Is it?
Because, like, I wouldn't have said that the Droon was the villain of this film. It's an antagonistic force. It's a hive mind. Surely. But I wouldn't have said at any point watching the film that it was the villain.
Who would you say is the villain?
Everyone. Everyone who's not a dragon. Because that's kind of what the movie was saying from the very beginning. Like, yeah, we had humans and we had dragons and we were all cool and we were buddy, and then some bad stuff happened, and then the humans they were just like, oh, you can't share anymore, and then the humans were bad forever, and then the humans never really redeemed anything or deserved anything back. They just kind of got the dragons back at the end, and it's like, well, what did they do? It was kind of just Raya. But also she kind of screwed up, and then her friend died. I don't know. It was kind of all over the place.
See, that part was also kind of interesting to me. Like, again, spoiler warning, Sisu dies, kind of. they'd bring her back. It's a Disney movie.
Oh, I have a lot to say about that.
Right? Oh god. But like that whole scene, like they were trying to play it so like it was Raya and Namari's fault. It kind of felt like it was just Namari. Like, because like she had her finger on the trigger. If she didn't want to shoot Sisu, why would she have it there to begin with? Now I get that she was like freaking out and scared and everything, and that like Raya spooked her, and that's like contributed to, you know, pulling the trigger and everything like that. But like, I just like, I don't know. Like that was a whole weird scene kind of thing.
It was a very strange scene.
Yeah.
The way I see it is Raya saw Namari about to shoot Sisu, so she tried to stop her.
Yeah.
Namari, I guess in her mind, still wouldn't have shot Sisu. Like, in the end, when Namari and Raya are fighting, she says it's as much of your fault as it is mine.
Yeah.
And so I guess in her mind, it's like, I wasn't actually going to do it. Like, it's your fault that I shot.
Yeah, like...
I mean...
yeah.
It's flimsy.
Hmm?
It's very, very flimsy.
Yeah. However, I do want to just add, and this is something I'd like to go into later, the combat was stellar.
That's
Ooh.
true. Yeah.
God, it was cool.
Yeah, the camera work and everything that had to do with, like, any of the fight scenes, I think, were really good.
Hell yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, like, that whole morality and ethics there is rough. And, like, I don't know. Like, I appreciate the story of, like, oh, it's good to trust people, and, you know, it's better to do things together than separate, but not all sin, like, you know, some sins leave up to God to forgive, you know, like, like, I hate to be that guy, but, like, I don't, like, if somebody hurts you that bad and you don't feel like forgiving them or trusting them, if they haven't given you reason to trust them, like, I feel like you shouldn't force that, like, I mean, I get what the movie's going for and everything, but still, I'm just like, And I guess you could say that they did, like, incorporate that and everything with, like, how there are some people you just can't trust, and it's bad to trust people, herded or strangers, like the Talon chief lady, old lady person. But, like, she also didn't get any, like, retribution for that, didn't get punished for that, so it's kind of like, eh.
Did anyone get punished for anything in this movie?
No.
Are there any consequences for anything in this film?
Yeah, let's go back to
God.
Sisu dying and then being resurrected real quick.
Right? Oh, God.
Well, okay, firstly, there's Sisu, who died.
And just dies.
And then, I don't know what, like, there's no context as to why her or any of the other dragons came back.
Nope.
Because humans finally trusted each other. Ah.
Because the Drew were gone.
Well, weren't they gone before?
Yeah.
Like, so they made the orb, right?
Mm-hmm.
In, like, several hundred years ago, which wiped out all the Droon and then brought all the stone humans back.
Yeah.
But the dragons didn't come back. So what explanation is there for this time the orb is put all together, the Droon are wiped out, stone people come back, but also the dragons come back this time?
I don't know, man.
The only explanation, which isn't an explanation in the terms of story and narrative, is that Disney want a happy, nice, sparkly ending.
Yeah.
Which is 10 times out of 10 the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it would have been so much more interesting if they didn't.
Yeah. I mean, I get the...
Not that I wanted Sisu to die, but, like, if that's the weight that you're gonna put in, like, put that in.
Yeah.
Like, go for broke. Commit to the bit. Come on.
Yeah.
I agree. It's cowardly to dangle a character death in front of your audience to say, oh yes, this is weight, this is gravity, this is a consequence, and then just snap your fingers and it's over.
Also, real quick, like, with how many times Disney kills off, like, parents and shit, why couldn't they have just left Sisu dead? Like, come on.
And
like,
all
really?
the dragons,
Sure.
and actually have her be the last dragon.
Yeah, and actually have her be the last dragon, and, you know, humans have to deal with the weight of that consequence and, like, you know, figure shit out, like,
The last anything in a title is never really the last anything.
yeah.
Yeah, Sisu's not really the last dragon if they all come back in the end.
Right?
Yeah.
The Last Jedi, anyone? Anyway, I digress.
I think there was something that you mentioned that I kind of wanted to bring up. I didn't get to do any research on some of the things that I wanted to talk about, but yeah, a lot of people are like, fight scenes, great, and they were. Cinematography, fantastic. Like you said, camera work, fantastic. The mocap, amazing.
Yeah.
The stunt work, the mixture of martial arts. I don't know all of what they were going for, but I know that like the whole movie has the Southeast Asian motif, and I really hope that there was some influence of that in the martial arts.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I really know about that. I just know that a lot of like the movie was visually. Okay, now that's something else. What did you guys think about the movie visually? We'll come back to the story later.
I don't know, there's a lot to that. There's...
What stood out to you most in this film visually? Like, when you think about it now, what is the thing that pops into your mind?
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, the colors, like, the color language and everything between, like, the different tribes and the world and everything, I feel like were really well done and really nice and cool, and I liked it a lot. And it's a Disney movie, so I kind of expect the visuals to be really cool by this point. But I'm still gonna appreciate it because I'm an artist and I'm a sucker for great visuals. Like everything from like the way the cloth moved on the characters and the way the hair flowed and the like the indents in like the stone and the rock and the footprints in the sand, like everything was just so like I'm just a sucker for this stuff, okay?
Yeah. I agree with the sentiment of the different factions, like the visual language that they made for the 5 different groups. I think was really cool, and it definitely felt like a cohesive world, but with 5 unique factions. And I definitely appreciated like all of the Southeast Asian like design motifs that they integrated into all of those. I did a little bit of research on like the visual influence that they had, and it seemed like they kind of borrowed, like each faction wasn't necessarily pulling from one specific place, but they kind of borrowed multiple things from multiple places for each one. Which was really cool. I will say, and maybe this is just me as someone that works with like 3D software and occasionally works with like simulation and stuff like that, but like I said before, like all I could think about with this movie oftentimes was like how they did some of the like technical stuff. Like I feel like I was almost taken out of the movie at times because the simulation, like, and some of the technical visual elements were done, like the water, for example, and the fur. Like, I was just looking at it and I was like, that looks like water simulation, or that looks like fur simulation. It does, and I don't know if that's necessarily just like a bias on my part, or if it's a flaw in the movie. Like, whether maybe they could have like stylized the simulation more, that it was more cohesive in certain parts, or yeah, I'm not sure.
I gotcha.
And that's where it is. That's what it is right there. Raya is weirdly realistic for some reason. Most stylization in this world has been gone. It's been drained. So much of this film's visual style is just realistic textures, realistic lighting, realistic lots of things. Some color shifting and tonal shifting here and there, depending on where you are, obviously, for the distinct color factions and whatnot, so you always know where you are in the scene. The color the color cues. Gosh, my pipeline knowledge needs work. But it was all so like weirdly realistic, and I didn't know why. Like, it felt like they didn't want to do anything like too stylistic. The characters in themselves look like, they look like Disney characters. They look like stylized Disney characters, but the proportions were off. They were different. They were more narrow. They were more spindly. And with something like that, I was expecting a darker story. I was expecting them to do like a realer, more gritty, more serious toned story, but they didn't. They gave us Aladdin and Moana had a baby, and that's what this is. Like immediately after we meet Sun Sisu, when we meet Sisu, I was like, wow, that's the genie. They just made the genie into a dragon. That's the genie character from Aladdin. And then she made a genie joke, and I was just like, stop. And then it kind of went off in the other direction into a travel movie, and I was like, okay, now it's Moana. It's like a weird kind of mix of these two films. But yeah, no, it's just like the one thing that I'm going to say that, like I mentioned earlier, that I think Moana did better than this film was that it was just... I don't even like Moana like that. I would like to point that out, too. If I had the choice to watch Raya again and watch Moana, I'd watch Raya. But I don't... I think visually, Moana was more fun. It was more interesting. Not to say that I don't agree with what you said, Carolyn, about the colors, because, like, the main temple area I thought was really, really pretty. The red town, I can't remember the name, but the red area, that was really cool with the taverns and the caravans and everything and being over water.
Oh, Talon.
Yeah, Talon was really cool. I thought that a lot of the areas were interesting in concept, but there was nothing all that visually striking or interesting that kept me invested in anything, or that I found all that memorable in this movie. And that sucks. I mean, about most of it. Because when we finally got to see Namari's, where did they come from?
Fang.
Fang? Mm-hmm. That place was really cool.
Yeah.
It was like a modern art museum. It was pretty crazy. Yeah. I thought that was visually interesting, but like what was so visually interesting about it was the modernistic, the simplistic rendering of everything. So it was really simple to look at, but that was what was striking about it. I don't know. I'm not going to say that this movie was ugly. I'm not saying that by any means. I thought it was a very, very pretty movie. I was just expecting more stylization for the tone that they went with, which was a little more comedic than I was expecting and a little more lighthearted when I was expecting darker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a take that I didn't... Like, that's a perspective that I feel like was, like, underneath, but I didn't realize was something that I... Like... That I realized about the film was, like, maybe the visual like the visual fidelity of the film didn't necessarily match the story. Like it was a younger, a story that I feel like was targeted towards a younger audience, but a visual fidelity of a more adult film.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, this... You put... If you want to put it in the perspective of video games, I feel like this becomes also very easy to do. You put Mario, like Mario Odyssey, beautiful game, visually spectacular game, next to Doom. And they're both award-winning games. They're both great games. But do they look the same? Do they run the same? Do they tonally have the same... I guess, do they have the same visual tone? That's what I meant to say. No, because they're going for completely different things. But I felt like Raya, I didn't know what it was going for most of the time. I was like, should I feel somber? Should I feel like this is a very sad movie? Because it did have those moments with the Druid. The Druid? The Druid. Yes, and like talking about the loss of the parents and everything, and it had those lower moments where I'm just like, oh yeah, that's really sad. I feel really bad for these characters. And like in those scenes, I felt like everything clicked. But most scenes with Sisu as a dragon kind of just threw me for a loop. I was like, you don't really fit here for me either. And I don't get it. And then when there were more dragons, it was like, okay, you kind of make sense now. But not really. Why? Why don't you look real like everything else?
I mean, like, I guess one could argue, like, oh, she's a relic from a happier time.
That's true. You could say that there's a juxtaposition between her ancient organicness and the world's somewhat organic but industrial architecture.
Dystopian world. Sorry.
That too. Some of it was more dystopian than others. Like, again, Talon didn't really seem all that dystopian.
You mean Fang?
Fang, yeah. Fang didn't seem all that dystopian at all. Like, they had this Mad Max vibe with the trailers, and then we didn't really get too much of that. That was just the opening of the movie. Like, with the not the motorcycle, but with Tuk Tuk sounding like a motorcycle and, like, just going through the desert. And I've never even seen Mad Max, but I get the tone.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, what is this going to be? What is this film? What is this gritty, post-apocalyptic...
I know what you're thinking.
Grit punk. And we just didn't get that. But, yeah, anyway.
Yeah. I have so many points, but just because it's on the mind, can we talk about Tuk Tuk?
Yeah, Tuk Tuk.
Just how he was like my favorite character.
He was so cute.
Did he necessarily have an arc or anything?
No.
No.
He's a useless character.
Hey, he had a use. He was a vehicle.
And
he was the necessary, obligatory Disney princess sidekick animal.
And he did a great job.
Do you remember Moana's? Yeah, I see it on your face. You don't remember. Go ahead.
It was the chicken.
You weren't supposed to answer the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
I was going to say a pig. I don't think there's a pig in that movie.
There is a pig.
There is a pig in the movie.
There is a pig, but they went with... And he was originally supposed to be on the journey, but he got left behind.
It's a tiny rooster named Hey Hey.
Hey Hey!
Yeah, don't remember much, do you?
Eats rocks.
No one's gonna remember fucking Tuk Tuk either.
Hey!
I think Tuk Tuk is more memorable. Well, at least Tuk Tuk's cute. I don't think Hey Hey's cute.
Dang.
Again, I will sound like I'm bullying, but I absolutely loved Tuk Tuk's design. I thought it was so cute. I wanted more Tuk Tuk, and I was pissed every 2 scenes when I would like think back to where's Tuk Tuk, and I was like, where the fuck is Tuk Tuk? Why isn't there more Tuk Tuk? I was very upset. Like, we just watched Mulan. We had just watched Mulan, not the live action version, but we had just watched Mulan, and Eddie Murphy was Mushu. Was Mushu. I don't know why I said Wushu. And he was a great sidekick character. He was a great animal companion. It's fucking amazing. It's a gold standard.
Yeah.
And Tuk Tuk didn't even have voice lines. Remember Pascal? Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Do you know who that is? You know who Pascal is?
I don't. I'm sorry.
He's Rapunzel's
the chameleon
animal sidekick. Also no lines.
Also no lines, but also more memorable. At least to me.
He also got an entire TV show to be in also afterwards. So.
True, yeah.
But do they need voice lines?
No,
Sidekicks?
no, absolutely not. The animal sidekicks do not need, because Maximus was also very memorable.
And the horse from El Dorado. Also silent side character.
What's his name?
Does he have a name?
I don't know.
Okay, look, I'm bad at names, okay, so you can't...
Super memorable character. What's his name?
I remember that he exists.
I know who you're talking about. But yeah, Maximus, if you didn't catch that, it was the horse from Tangled.
Yeah.
Also white horse. He was a lot bigger presence than Pascal in that film, but they both had character to them. I felt like Tuk Tuk was just kind of there as a motorcycle, and then not there when not needed.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of boring. Like I said, the movie just has a lot of characters and just not enough time to pay attention to all of them and make us actually care.
True.
Yeah, definitely feel like this would have been better as like an Avatar style like TV show.
Wait, no. If honestly, you could have taken the film, stretched it the hell out, and turned it into 3 separate movies.
Yeah.
Where we got to see, like, it would feel like Avatar at that point, because you would be able to actually take some time to see and look into and explore these areas that they go to in sequence, and then in the final movie get there, and then the dragon that we now care about because we've had 2.5 movies to care about her dies, and then we're just like, oh no, and then the end of the world happens, and then we have to fight our enemies and our other enemies and save our friends, and that would have been a great, like, Harry Potter last film-esque huge endgame battle. It could have been. Could have had more friends, could have cared more about other people. There weren't that many people in the movie, though, because, you know, people just, everyone's stone. Everyone's stone, there's no characters. They're going to make a movie with no characters. They immediately eliminated their ability to stretch this out and maybe have something more impactful and more interesting. They're just like, no, everything's here, it's right here, this is the whole world, and it's happening on this boat, and the movie's going to happen now, and nothing else is going on in the world, and nothing else matters. Because it kind of doesn't. The whole world revolves around these characters. That's it.
Yeah.
And that was a little isolating at times.
Yeah. Yeah, like, there was so much potential, and it just kind of feels like it kind of got sidelined by the limits of a movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to know what you guys thought about the way they transitioned from world to world, in the sense that it was a big
Title card.
yeah, it was, you know, the name of the place, and, you know, this big what's the film term, a big environmental shot that sets up the scene.
Establishing shot?
Yes, that one. The establishing shot with the title card and, like, you know, a big sound thing, like, dong.
Yeah.
Like,
We're going to talk about the music, too, by the way.
Oh,
Briefly.
yeah.
We briefly have to talk about the music. I'm no authority, but some things I know about it would be particularly interesting to Carolyn. Go on with your question.
I'm down.
Yeah, like, how... I'm really conflicted on that type of transition. I think it's necessary for the medium, like this short, I say short, but short movie format. But, like, in a general sense, I hate it.
Why? Why do you hate it? Because I love it. We're gonna fight. But tell me about how you feel and why.
I think it's because it makes it how do I say this? It makes it feel like these things are so disjointed and like very clear, distinct chapters, where I feel like part of this story is the sense that all of these people are like connected and have this kind of shared arc to overcome of like distrust between each other. Like it feels like we're entering like 5 different shorts throughout the film, where I feel like they could have done it more fluidly to lend to the narrative of like all of these people are the same and they have the same mission.
I have a counter argument, but Carolyn.
Yes.
How do you feel about the transitions between different sections of the film? Different environments and whatnot.
I kind of agree that like they are better suited for like a shorter runtime, like movie style deal. But I actually kind of liked it, but in specific circumstances. I liked Spines a lot because I liked getting to see the mountains that looked like a spine. I thought that was really cool, and I thought that was like a cool like what is it? Geological like tie-in to the name, and helped me kind of like link to it better. But you didn't really get that with the others. I mean, like, I understand that like if you look at a map, like that's how it looks, but I don't know. And like I guess it's harder to show like tail and what is it?
Like there's Fang and Heart.
Yeah, tail and talon and all that.
Head, heart, spine, and talon. Or horn, maybe? Was horn one of them?
No. It was Fang, spine, heart, talon, and tail.
Heart, talon, and tail. Yes.
Which one was
Okay.
Tail? Which one was Tail?
That was the first place we went.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where she found Sisu, and that's where she got the first dragon gem from the lady who became a victim of her own traps.
Which was the level of mortality that should have been in the rest of the film.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, they showed a skeleton on screen, and just... But they couldn't let Sisu die, apparently. We're so bitter about them, like, not killing a character.
Because they've done it before. I just don't understand why they won't do it now. Anyway, okay, so here's my counter argument, Chris.
Yes.
Have you considered, perhaps, and I could be 110% incorrect, I think this is an interpretation thing solely, anyway, so whatever. Because of this film's pacing, I think that its snappy movement, a lot of which is focused on in the fight scenes and the fight choreography, is also kind of reverberated in its comedy. The comedy can be quick and snappy. The visuals, the movement, the inertia of some of the scenes can be very quick and snappy, a lot like a Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs or anything directed by Phil Lord, Spider-Verse, and like those bits of like quick, choppy in-betweens or lack of in-betweens in some cases, and just like fast, zippy movement. I feel like those transitions lend itself to that type of storytelling because this story is so huge. It's got a huge world. We just don't get to see all of it, which sucks. It's great in the sense of the writing. It seems like there's so much more interesting stuff going on in the world, but we don't get to see it because we're not focused on it. So I feel like the transitions kind of help contain everything, because you also have to remember that each one of these sections of the film are also specifically color-coded as well. So it's like these divides are there in every aspect. I do not know if every land that we go to, if every section has its own score. It probably does, but it has its own color. They get their own transitions and title cards, and I'm not going to say that they get their own scores, but they probably do.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So these divides are probably just there to make sure that no one gets lost in this super semi-complicated story that's meant to be digested by children.
True. Yeah, I could see that.
Not complicated, congested. That's a better word for it. It's a congested story.
Yeah.
Okay, this might be a critique on Disney as a whole and their marketing, but, like, they've done a good job at being able to market to people, children of all ages.
Yeah.
All people, all ages, all everything. So, I feel like the excuse that, like a Disney movie is meant for kids is losing less and less weight with me, because I'm like, no. They've done good jobs at being able to create media for all ages many times before. So I'm kind of starting to get sick of the idea of, or, like, I'm starting to get, like, I just don't believe that anymore. That, like, oh, it's meant for kids. Like, no! Like, they know full well that the parents are paying for this, and that the parents will pay more for a better movie. Or, well, like, they'll pay more for a movie that they can enjoy, too.
Of course.
Like, they know this, and they've done that, and, like, I don't know, that just, like, you already know that, like, it, like, oh, it's for kids, is, like, irks me, because, like, kids can enjoy good media, too, you dinguses, but... Like, Disney especially, I'm just like, no. I know they can do better. They've done it before, so I'm just like...
The world's always changing. Every year, Disney seems to be, like, loosening the chain little by little, depending on whether or not it's the movies or the TV show, the channels.
Yeah.
Disney XD and Disney Channel. The reins in the animation seem to be loosened up every year. Something's always different. Something's always changing. Some type of progress is being made. So that's great. I mean, animation is always moving progressively in the right direction. I feel like, especially in America in the last 10 years. So it's good stuff. But however, I did say digested by children, and by that I mean, it's meant. These films are written and created in a way that, yes, the story is meant to be, like, a little congested. There's a lot going on in this world, obviously. I think that the people who wrote it, the creators of the world, probably, like, wrote this really big story that they had to chop down and chop it down into something smaller, which is probably why there's some pacing issues. I feel like the movie could have used, like, an extra 40 minutes. It would have been long as hell, but I feel like it would have gotten to its points better. And like you said, that's probably why it shouldn't have been a single film. Maybe it should have been two. Maybe it should have been a series of short films. Maybe it could have been anything else. It could have been a comic. It could have been a lot of other things. But what I mean is Disney and their films, they're just like, we are Disney. We market to children. We want to make sure that we know that children will watch our films. So we can't have anything in it that'll be too offensive for the younger audiences, because whether or not it affects the children at all, the parents will be upset. So you have to. There's so many eggshells that have to be, like, tiptoed around. It's not the children's fault. It's the guardians that are really the issue in this case. But yeah, I mean, digested by children so that they're not confused or just, like, lost in the dust with this plot, as opposed to it being, like, specifically targeted at their demographic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on that note, do you think that I mean, I guess it depends on what age of children, but, like, do you think that children are really grasping the vastness and, like, I feel like when a movie, like, does this, like, universal kind of, like, creating a world, like, part of me wonders if how much of that is really translated, like, to the younger audience. Like, something that's easier to digest, like, let's say a Toy Story, like, something that's familiar. I feel like doesn't have this problem, but, like, when you have, like, this vast world and you have to, like, show a map to, like, understand where everything is, like, I feel like that's, like automatically alienating some of the younger people.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Maybe it's a little harder to translate in a movie where you have less time to look at that stuff. But I mean, like, looking, like, again, we keep comparing to Avatar, but that had a really vast world with a map that showed things. I mean, they showed the map at the beginning of every episode in the opening credits, but, like, kids got that. I mean, we watched that as kids. I watched that as a real young kid, and I understood.
Well, here's another thing that kind of helped that what you're about to say out. Avatar's map was even simpler than the one in Raya. Creating. Sorry, I'm gonna let you get back to what you were saying right now.
Oh, well, yeah, it's so I think that, like, kids can understand that kind of stuff for sure. I lost my train of thought.
Rat.
Oh no. But yeah, like, that's, yeah. I think kids, I'd be more concerned about, like, kids understanding the levels of the, like, morality and the ethics in it, but I guess that's kind of the point, because it's something to think about and figure out and digest, but I don't know. That's just me.
I think the topic of, and I shouldn't have even brought it up, the topic of, like, what we can and can't really, like, show or say to kids, and seeing, like in films, and, like, understanding how much of it, like, connects. That's really so, like, I feel like that's so very specific to their upbringing in particular. Like, it really depends on what you grew up with. And just getting away from that more psychological thing, I mean, don't you have a favorite movie that you've gone back and watched, that you've been watching since you were a child, and then, like, been like, oh, I get those dirty jokes that were in there this whole time, or, oh, I didn't realize the significance of this later. Just because you don't fully grasp it now doesn't mean that you can't still enjoy a world that took you on a ride for a while, and then 5 years later say, wow, I've loved this movie for 5 years, I'm a little older, and you can enjoy it even more. That's what a timeless classic is. I wouldn't call this film a timeless classic, but Toy Story, a movie that had, what, a 15-year break? No, sorry, that's The Incredibles. Incredibles had a 15-year break. But, you know, Toy Story also had a huge break in between sequels, and yet still made gangbusters. They made so much money because people love the series, and they grew up with the series, and growing up with a series is what makes that connection so important, I think. Excuse me. So the film doesn't have to be dumbed down for children. It just has to be, like I said, digestible. If it was like, I don't know, an episode of Law and Order, a lot of concepts there, nothing's being dumbed down, nothing's being stylized or made digestible. It's just all the information straight and flat in front of you. I bring that up because my little brother would mimic my mom and just watch episodes of Law and Order, and he's like 11, and I'm like, what are you doing? Anyway, so, oh, I said anyway, and I lost my train of thought. It's like, it's the killer, it's the mind killer. So I don't think it's the point I was getting at is that I don't think it's necessarily important, mandatory to dumb down a film to have kids be able to enjoy the film.
Yeah.
Also, something that I really liked about the movie that I'd like to point out is the kind of subtle, not so subtle feminism that they had in there. One of the big points being, like, obviously, like, women fighting and being badass and being cool people, and, like, Raya. Because, like, as a character, I really like Raya, and I like that she's just, like, trying to do her best in this crazy world and working really hard and, like, you know, fighting like a boss. Like, oh my gosh, again, the fight scenes, amazing. Love seeing that kind of, love seeing strong warrior women, yes. But also, like, a more subtle moment in the movie that really liked, and I have no idea what kind of controversy there is around this, but when, like, some of the, like, the kids, like, specifically the baby and her little, like, monkey friends are, like, kind of causing chaos, and she's, like, telling them, like, oh, let's play hide and seek to distract them. She tiredly goes over to Sisu afterwards and sits down and says, like, oh, remind me to never have kids. I'm like, ooh. Ooh. I don't know how many people caught that, but I was just like, ooh, they got away with that? Ooh, nice! Good one! Go, you, Raya! And also there was, like, no, like, love interest at all. I mean, like, you could argue Namari, but that was more of like a friendship complicated thing, like, we don't, maybe, I don't know. But, like, I just appreciate those levels of, like, casual feminism that they threw in there, like especially the No Kid, like, that was some nice stuff in there. Just like, ooh.
Yeah.
Gold star.
That was a pretty, like, unique moment that I appreciated the subtlety of it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like, you know, breaking, I guess, traditional stereotypes and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I really appreciated, like, the breaking the stereotypes and how, like, casual it was. Like, they didn't make a big deal out of it or anything. But even to, like, go further into, like, breaking the norms, Tong, the big tough guy, had a real big soft spot for Baby. Partially because, you know, he lost his baby to the Droon. But, like, that was also kind of cute that they, like, had that there was that nice, also, like, what is it called? I just said it. Breaking of the norm, where, like, the big tough guy was the softie for the kid. I appreciated that. I mean, granted, that's a bit of a trope, but I still appreciate it. But yeah.
That's a good point. And it's nice that, you know, while the movie does have a very overt theme of, like, trust and stuff, that they can also, you know, subtly imply other themes. Where, like, you know, something like Mulan, for example, has the overt theme of, like, feminism and stuff like that. But I feel like as time has passed, like, since, you know, the original Mulan and now, like, to now, it's cool to see that, like, the idea of something like feminism doesn't have to be the main, like, story. Like, it's like, it's almost, like, normalized that's, like, a part of the character experience. Yeah.
It's more like set dressing than it is, like, the whole setting.
Yeah, like, the movie isn't about Raya, like, learning to become a badass and fighting for her right to fight with a sword. No, she already does that, and it's awesome. I appreciate that shit.
Yeah, she's been a badass from the first second we met her. That's, Korra, they did that with Korra, too.
Yeah, good stuff. And I appreciated that. I appreciated that she was, like, she was smart, she was, like, nimble, she could fight, and, like, granted, she's not a Mary Sue, she makes mistakes, she admits that, like, big mistakes, but, like, I don't know, she was just, like, she was cool. We're talking
about Raya.
Yeah.
I think she was cool. I think she was a fun character, to some degree. She was. It was, like, an interesting juxtaposition between, like, it's funny, like, especially me talking about, like, as an anime fan, it's weird that I'd bring this up, but it seemed like there was an interesting juxtaposition between, like, who she is as a character, who was just, like, a very cautious older sister type character, but also very, like, laid back. And, well, no, she's very high strung. I don't know, she seemed interestingly, like, complex, and, like, being, like, feeling like this older sister character, and then also being, like, this badass sword fighter.
Right.
And, like, when she starts fighting, like, it felt like the whole damn movie just changed. Like, she's a different person now. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And that sucks, actually. Because I feel like there was such a huge juxtaposition between that last fight with Namari, and that cinematography, and that great, like, visual of, like, the town crumbling around her. She's, like, going in for that last fight. And then they just start talking. And then I'm like, oh, the dialogue, you're ruining everything. No, stop talking.
Yeah!
I don't care whose fault it was, the dragon's dead, just fight!
Bang the swords! Fight, damn it!
I really, like, every time there was any type of combat in this movie, I wanted to scream. It was so good.
Yes.
Then it always got cut short.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, and even, like, God, just, like, with how sarcastic and, like, fun and casual, like, Raya was in the fights, too, like, cracking jokes and stuff like that, even when she was, like, getting her shit kicked in, like, ooh, like, I just love that. I was like, oh, I love this. This is great. This is beautiful.
It's very reminiscent of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Rise of the TMNT also had bits of, like, fast-paced, well-choreographed action, but also those bits of, like, comedy, people talking, throwing quips at each other here and there, like the Spider-Man formula, because everyone's just like, oh, the Spider-Man's what he does, he talks, it's funny, but what I feel like people are starting to realize, especially in the American entertainment industry, is that with the power of animation, you can do these fight
With the power of God and anime on your side.
Exactly. With the power of animation, you have the ability to make these amazingly choreographed fight scenes and do the mocap and do the 2D animation and do the camera angles and figure all this stuff out. And nobody has to get hurt.
Yeah.
Great. Don't have to pay for stuntman medical bills. And you can stylize it, and you can focus in on specific punches, or you can focus in on specific combos and shifts and movements, and that in and of itself is its own language. Animation takes combat and turns it into something like heightened and amazing, and now we're starting to get some of that with, like, this movie, and hopefully more movies.
Hell yeah. And, like, that was something that I remember we saw in, I can't remember their names, but the channel with the guys who review, like, 3D scenes and stuff like that. They have, like, guests on sometimes where they, like...
yes.
Yeah.
Corridor crew.
Those people. I remember seeing a video of them, like, looking at, like, the combat scenes, and Raya was some of the people who helped with that. And the stunt people... I can't remember their name, but the stunt person was talking about how the really cool thing about doing animated fight scenes is you can the characters can physically connect. Like, when it comes to live action stuff, you know, you always have to cheat it. You can't actually hit somebody as hard as you want to. You just have to make it look that way. No, in animation, you can punch that person right in the face and they can go flying through a wall and nobody physically gets hurt, and it's amazing.
And with like timing and weight and follow through and all these things, it's so much more. A punch can be so much more than a punch when handled by an artist who cares and knows what they're doing, and that's amazing. And I really hope we get more heightened combat and more heightened physicality in movies. Like, we have been getting more, like, free running and stuff when it was more popular, and now it's just kind of spread out sparsely in the entertainment industry now. But, like, we get free running, and we get, like, little bits of, like, extra, like, little exercises and sports know-how and stuff like that, maybe to encourage younger people to get into these types of things. And I think that's awesome. I think more people should be interested in martial arts. We haven't seen a lot of, like, martial arts-centric films in forever. And I loved that this movie had such a huge martial arts frame to it. So, yeah, that made me happy. I got a little me giddy.
I also really appreciated the animation, especially like the character animation in the fight scenes, and yeah, exactly what the point with the like animation versus real life stunts. You can do those exaggerated movements, and the limits are endless, which is great. And they really, utilize the animation medium for this film, which is nice. I will say, and this is kind of going back to a point that we had earlier, some of the animation, like the exaggerated movements in the film, I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but sometimes I felt like the characters were a bit like rubbery, like they felt like really like they had too much like noodliness to them.
Oh yeah, like when the baby's like rolling around and like moving really quickly and like climbing shit, like all of those scenes where they're moving really quickly, they just kind of snap and stretch.
Yeah, and I think at first I was like, this is like an issue with like the animation. This is something that I'm upset with, but I think it was more so the fact that it was just imposed with those realistic like simulation, like really high res like textures and stuff, the non stylized stuff, that it was like giving me a little bit of uncanny valley.
Yeah
Yeah,
it is really strange, right? Like the stylized characters, but everything else is just so weirdly realistic.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, fight scene animation great. Sometimes I felt like the exaggerated animation didn't fit with the visual rendering of certain things.
Right. You know what movie, another film that utilizes a lot of that, like consistently throughout the whole thing? The Hotel Transylvania series. I find that those movies to be special not because they're particularly interesting story-wise, nice catch. It's that these films seem to be drawn and animated like 2D films from like the early cartoon era. Everything stretches and pulls and like you have really thin character models with like crazy pushed expressive body proportions and weird shapes and stuff like that. And then they translate it into 3D and then it moves exactly the same. The smear frames are still there and you're like, how are they doing this in 3D? And like the models do so many crazy things.
Yeah, and it's like every movie they just keep pushing the boundaries. The expressions get crazier, the animations, like even the walking. Oh my god, even the walk animations get wilder. Like, oh my goodness. It's such a visual treat to just see the characters move on screen.
And so much of that film was just like visual fun. It's like animators, it looks like they're just flexing their muscles with this. And I really appreciate a film where you can just see the fun in the movement, especially. And I felt like Raya had that with the combat, but it didn't really have that much anywhere, or enough in a lot of those other places, especially like with the background in the world, which felt so real, and then the characters kind of rubbery.
Well, I guess like to clarify that, I feel like the animators did do that in this film, like the exaggerated stuff. It's just like the treatment of like the textures and the simulation and stuff. It didn't match that playfulness.
Okay, where was the playfulness for you though?
The playfulness was in like I feel like the characters did have that, like some of that exaggerated motion, like the noodliness and stuff. And it was just like disjointed with some of the other treatment of like models and textures and stuff. Yeah. Like, for example, when you look at the Drone, if you look at like the simulation that they did for that, it's really well done and it looks great, but it also looks like it could be used just the same in like a film, like a real life based film, like, you know, something with like real humans and stuff in it.
Yeah.
I feel like the playfulness that was in the animation could have been brought into some of that a bit more. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is the animation was really well done, and the simulation and texturing and everything was really well done. But
the art direction was off?
I think it's the issue for me is that does well done textures and well done simulation equate to good visual cohesion with like the animation?
what does visual cohesion... How does it relate to intention? In this instance, the intention of the studio.
I guess... I mean, the intention is where I'm confused, I think. Like, I don't know if they intended to have, like, a playful-looking film or a realistic-looking film.
Well, what I'm saying... What my question is that... Because now I'm thinking... From what you're saying, it seems like there was something in the art direction that was a little off. Like, there was something that wasn't communicated properly between all of the animators, and there wasn't a consistency. I feel like that's an art direction issue. But for the sake of Disney being the producer of the company, I assume that they were just like, hey, the movie's serviceable. And it's like such a small thing that only other animators would notice.
Yeah.
So we don't care.
This is totally an animator. Like, someone that works in this stuff, like, nitpicks level of thing. Like, this is not something that I feel like the average viewer is going to critique or even care about.
Yeah, probably. But we're not the average viewer, so, you know...
To be fair, this isn't the first thing I've heard about the movie having, like, visual glitches or something like that. So, maybe there was just an issue with miscommunication, or maybe they were just, like, people were confused about how realistic things were supposed to be. It's very possible.
Yeah, maybe this is, like, a little bit off topic, but, I'm curious if there was a breakdown in communication due to, like, pandemic stuff, because I imagine that a lot of this movie was produced during, like, the, you know, work from home era.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You know what?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I guess me, as someone who works with, like, in a game studio, is familiar with the idea of, like, communication and I guess cohesion between elements being broken due to, like, remote working.
Right.
So I wonder if they had similar issues.
That's very likely. And what I was going to say a second ago is just in service to that. This movie got, like, no marketing. It got a couple trailers, and then nobody was really talking about it. And they released it on the same night. We were doing something else. You know what that was, Carolyn?
What?
You know what we were doing the night Raya came out on Disney? We were freaking watching WandaVision.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was a better series. A better thing to watch, and we weren't going to pay $30 on top of the streaming service to watch Raya.
Yeah, that's also not a cool thing that they did.
So not only did they not properly market this film, they also made us pay $30 for it on top of the streaming service, and it was just there. It was on Disney+. So maybe it was intentional that it wasn't marketed. Maybe there were some issues in development, and they were just like, this isn't our best movie! So let's just put it out there.
I would be really interested to, like, talk to some of the people that worked on the film and, like, to get, like, a real inside scoop as to, like, the production and stuff. Because, I mean...
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Go to sleep.
All this to say, I will say that, like... I feel like we've been pretty negative. Maybe we should talk about more positives, because I did like
critiquing.
Yeah. Rapid fire. What are other things that you liked about the movie?
Go ahead.
Oh goodness. Okay, so visuals. Excuse me. Sorry, I got a tickle and I already drank all my drink.
I mean, if you want to get something to drink, you can always just cut it out of the...
No, it's fine. You ever, like, somebody asks you a question and you had the answer, but then they ask it and you just forget? Marshaun, you go.
what else did I like about the film? Was that the question?
Yeah, maybe something we haven't touched on.
Oh, nothing. I hate the film. No, I'm kidding. Other things I liked about the film. It was a film. I know I was kind of kicking up dirt about, like, the whole...
Music?
Yeah. Music?
Didn't you say you wanted to talk about music?
Oh, I had a brief fact about the music.
Oh, so sorry for interrupting you.
Well, it didn't matter. Treasure Planet. Mm-hmm. You've seen that movie.
Yes.
You like that movie.
Indeed.
You love that movie. You love Treasure Planet.
I enjoy the film and I will watch it multiple times.
Carolyn's favorite movie is Treasure Planet.
It's not.
And the composer, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, who, composed all of Treasure Planet, came out of retirement, I believe, to do Raya. So, the music and the soundtrack, on point.
Yes!
Music is beautiful.
Yes, I really like the music. It was really pretty.
It was absolutely amazing. I really, really enjoyed the music. I thought it was very, like, it kept an energy about it that I feel like bolstered the film more so than it needed to. But I'm not gonna say it did a lot of the heavy lifting, but like at the end when the music was playing, as like the everyone's turning to stone and it's like welling up and it's like that good. That was some good composing.
Yeah.
I don't know much about music, but that was some composing right there.
Ooh, when freaking Sisu got the rain power and she started like running in the rain, like, ooh, that was so pretty. Like it was visually beautiful and the music was just so whimsical and fun. I loved that.
Auditorially arresting.
Delightful.
Decadent. We're artsy-fartsy people. We have. This is how we describe things. This is how I describe things. I'm weird. Anyway, go on.
You own a thesaurus.
People own thesauruses. Chris, do you have a thesaurus?
I have Google.
Fair.
Anyway.
What did you like about the film?
Yeah, it was the thing.
What else?
How'd you feel about the ending, Chris?
The ending of the film? Well,
yeah,
besides the dragons coming back.
How did you literally... Yes. How did you literally feel about the last 5 minutes of the movie? The actual last 5 minutes. What were you feeling? What did you think? Also, when do you guys think 5 minutes before the movie ended was? Is that after they turn back from stone? That's after the dragons come back?
I'd say that would have been like right after
Right after the dragons?
Yeah, right after Sisu came back.
Right after Sisu came back? Okay. Yeah. Around that point, the dragons just came back. You're cooling off. You're cooling off. You were steaming. I know you were really upset. You're raising the temperature. I could feel it upstairs. How did you feel about the last 5 minutes of the film, Chris?
I think it was fine.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound honest, Chris.
No, I mean... I'm trying to remember. I mean, so she reunited with her dad.
Yeah.
All the people came together.
Welcome to Kamandra.
Yeah, welcome to Kamandra.
To Gumandra.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, I think it was fine for what the overall, like, story was. I feel like it was so, like, overwhelmingly positive that it's like, I mean, along with the dragons coming back. I just keep coming back to that in my mind.
Yeah. It's a pretty big point.
No, I think it was fine. I think it was what was expected of the film. I mean, the film needs to have that nice positive ending. You can't, like, imagine they just start going to war again. And,
Well, if they did, then we would have gotten that second movie.
True.
Then we would have had an opportunity to explore those areas more, get some more world building in a movie that already had pretty decent world building. So I would have enjoyed that. I would have absolutely enjoyed a cliffhanger. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. I think it serviced what it needed to. Did I guess something, and I'm not really sure why, something that I didn't necessarily feel was when she did reunite with the dad. For some reason, that scene didn't hit as hard as I feel like it.
I'm so glad you said that, because that is all I was thinking about. It was so anticlimactic. This movie is 2 hours of my dad, I gotta get my dad, my daddy, dad. Oh, it's my daddy's back. Movie's over. This whole movie is very much about like their relationship, Raya's relationship with her dad and like getting him back and everything, and his morals and her conflict with his morals, but wanting to be the perfect daughter, but she comes back to the water. Sorry. Anyway,
and Sisu being so much like Raya's dad and reminding her of her dad, and also like what was it?
It's Papa Central. It's Daddy Issues, the movie.
Oh yeah, and like how there were a few times where she was just like, I kind of don't even care about like saving the world. I just want my dad back. Like, fuck everyone else. My dad, man.
I'm sorry. It's Daddy Issues, the road trip. The movie.
Daddy Issues, the road trip. Now that is a Disney movie.
That is a Disney movie right there.
That's a shirt. That's a shirt.
That is a shirt. Write it down.
Daddy Issues, the movie.
Can we make that like in the Raya font?
Yes.
I'm writing it down.
Do it. It's gonna be on the shop soon.
On the shop.
I have a Redbubble. I have a Redbubble.
What's going on your Redbubble? Okay.
We'll split the profits. Anyway.
Yeah.
Also, like, one thing that I would have liked there to have been a little more of was, like, one thing that she mentioned was just, like, do you think he'd even recognize me? Because it's been 6 years. She is a grown-ass adult by this point. And it kind of, like, they could have turned that into something. They could have made that hit so much harder.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy how a second movie would just, like... just help you. Help you loose and tie up all those loose plot threads. Whew. Just saying. And I understand that movies are expensive, you know? Like, the second movie would be expensive, but it's Disney.
Yeah.
Disney has more money than Nintendo. Nintendo could go bankrupt today and still have a company for 30 straight years. That's an actual thing. It's written in their magazine. I don't know where it's written, actually, but that's a fact. But no, it's crazy to think this movie couldn't have been greenlit for like 2 or 3. You know what I mean? Like, you got actors signing on contracts for 3 films for the Marvel movies and everything. Like, in general, superhero movies, people are like, oh yeah, I'm going to sign up for 5 contracts right now. So, why can't we do the same thing with a strong animated project? Why can't we put the time and energy into a project and... I want to say deadlines be damned, but you can't say that because animation is difficult, and a lot of people have been living under like the crunch dilemma, where like animation studios are just like we got to get it out now, and people are like sleeping under their desks and like barely leaving the offices, and it's not good. And it's crazy that what is behind something that is so magical and so intrinsic to the lives of children, and in a lot of cases young adults like me who grew up loving cartoons, the animation industry itself is kind of toxic in some ways. And that's sad. That's really sad to know. And I really hope, I don't know, I didn't look at any news on this film, but I really hope that there weren't any like major time constraints. I know the film was in development for a while. And yeah, I just hope everyone was treated properly and and everything. I just think a sequel would be nice. Just right there, putting it out there. Sequel would have been nice to figure some things out. Now we don't need a sequel. Everything's been figured out. If we get a sequel now, we'll be mad. I'm going on record right now. Disney, I know you're listening.
Oh yes, because they care so much about our little podcast.
They will.
They will when this blows up.
When this blows up and we act like we don't know nobody. wait.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah.
that guy did blow up. I wonder if he actually acted like he didn't know nobody.
Well, you should call him.
I don't know him.
Exactly.
Sorry, Chris, what were you gonna say?
I don't know.
Shush!
Sorry.
Oh my god.
I think it's the idea of like animated movies and like sequels and like signing on to like a multi-year type thing. Like I don't know all the business that's behind that, but I think studios like Pixar and Disney, they kind of have to do new things because of like the kids and stuff. Like, you know, kids want to see something that's new and fun and interesting. Like
Everyone does.
Yeah, but like
To be fair, a lot of things are new to kids since they have like no frame of reference. Anyway, I digress. You continue, sorry.
yeah, but I guess it's like, I guess maybe that's just like an explanation for why they maybe wouldn't do like, let's say 3 Raya movies in a row or something.
Oh yeah, of
I mean, I
course.
guess
Yeah.
now that I'm thinking about it, Cars, they kind of did that, didn't they?
Yeah.
Kind of, but not really. There were like at least 2 to 3 years between these films, I think. There was at least some time. And I don't even think they were in development back to back or anything. I think there was like a break before they announced and decided they would do another one. So yeah, I mean, these things are usually based off of like what the numbers are. So it makes sense. It probably would be way more complicated, like you were saying, to employ all the animators and all the outside studios that do the third-party animation and everything, and like have them sign on for a contract like that. It would be incredibly complicated. In a perfect world, though, we get exactly that.
Yeah.
And that's what I want.
Yeah. Would be pretty sweet.
Indeed. Maybe someday.
Maybe someday.
To have 9 hours of animation broken up into chapters.
I want that so bad. Somebody
Like
give
this
us an
quality.
animated trilogy. Animation is amazing. Give it the credit it deserves.
I mean, anything's
It's not just
possible.
for kids.
Anything's possible in this day and age where anyone can make anything and put it on the internet in whatever format. New media will come along and consume TikTok and YouTube, and it'll be the new thing. What?
No.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
What did you say?
Nothing.
No, it's on the podcast now. What did you say? I'll go back in the recording. I'll decode it.
No.
What'd you say?
I was making a Game Grumps reference. I said consume parallax. Because you said consume and consume parallax. Anyway, continue.
It's like the third time I said the word consume.
I know, and I couldn't live with it anymore. I had to say something. I had to say that thing.
Now that I've thoroughly lost my train of thought again.
You're welcome.
Gosh darn it. Chris, what was I talking about? You weren't even listening.
Trilogy sequels.
Consuming.
Prior lesson.
We were talking about.
Oh yeah, consuming new media.
Yeah.
Anybody can make anything today. So, hey, we can come up with some type of story that is specifically told in this media and figure out how to make it work, and then be like, hey, Raya team, that's how you do it.
Damn.
Just right to Disney.
Goddamn.
I guess any other thoughts Oh.
Overall rating. It's rating time.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Chris, you're first because I love to make you squirm.
Oh, it's so hard.
You devilish man, you. Why don't you go first? You know, lead the pack. Lead by example.
You guys know I don't like the movie that much. What do you want me to say? Oh, it's a 3. And then we move on. Like, I want to know what you guys
Well,
think.
first of all, what's the scale?
What's the scale? It's a 1. It's a 1 to 10.
1 to 10.
Mm.
I'm going to say 6.
A 6. I think that's reasonable. Carolyn?
I'd probably go with like a 6.5 or a 7.
Also reasonable, yeah. I'm going to say that this movie was probably a 5 for me. And a 5 is generally average.
Yeah.
It's right in the middle. But I want to say that average for me tends to be a 7. I typically say that movies are at a 7 unless I really didn't like them or there was something that bugged me to a point where I couldn't like get over it. So yeah, I'm gonna put Raya at a 5. 0.5. That's that. Yeah, 5.5. I think is probably pretty good. But I don't think it's a bad movie. Yeah, I thought I had this down. You're right.
Haha.
It was me. It was me all along. I don't know.
What'd I say?
I have mixed feelings. I feel like a 5 is so low because I'm so used to giving things 7s. In fact, no. Screw what I said. Forget that. Strike it off the board. Get off the screen.
No.
Get off the screen.
No.
It's
You have to
my
live
score.
with this.
My score will be a 6. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a solid 6, not a 6.5. Because fuck you.
Boy.
Well, okay. So I think some of the haziness with the rating and stuff is like, it was good for what it was.
Yeah.
It's just, do we like what it was?
For me, it was, for what it was good. I just wanted more.
You wanted more dragons, Karen.
And, you know, I got it, but it was only for like the last 5 minutes of the movie.
You thought that was what the movie was going to be anyway. You thought the dragon was going to show up at the end. You got the movie you were expecting.
Anyway, yeah, no, I like the movie for what it was. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it again for a 3rd time.
Mm-hmm. I'll even watch it this time.
Yeah, I liked it. I feel like it would have done better in a different format. One that let it express how big the world was, because there was a lot to see and I wanted to see it.
Right.
Shaw. You gesturing at me. You want me to say things?
Yeah. You
want
started
me to-
this. You gotta finish it, boy.
Do you want me to... Well, I'm not finishing it. Chris would be finishing it. But do you want me to talk about my rating and why?
Well, yeah, because Chris kind of expanded on his rating.
Oh, did you already
yours.
do yours? Jeez. Things go so fast. I'm sorry.
Pay attention.
I was actually expecting your rating to be higher, Carolyn. You did the 6.5, right?
6.57.
Yeah, okay, I can read it.
6.75.
It makes sense that your rating would be the highest, even though I guess it's not that much higher than I was expecting it to be higher. I don't hate this movie, but I've heard other people say, and I agree, that Disney hasn't really put out any like banger in a while. I feel like Soul was great, but I feel like it also kind of had a barrier to get in. I feel like there were some topics there that just weren't for everyone. It was kind of a mixed bag with what you were going to get. I overall thought the film was very fun, but I feel like it wasn't as well received as it could have been. But that's just me. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was looking at the wrong reviews.
I like Soul.
But I loved...
That was Pixar, though.
So I can't say Toy Story?
Okay, fair.
Because I love Toy Story 4 from a visual standpoint. I love Toy Story 4 from a long-lasting characters. You've known them for so long, like family, childhood friends. I love that nostalgia part of it as well. But the film was kind of not really going anywhere.
Yeah.
The movie wasn't made because of its story. It was made because of its technology. and they just wanted to show what they could do with everything. And it was great. It was a great tech demo.
What a stellar tech demo.
That tech demo made me cry so much. But yeah, I feel like there just hasn't been like much crazy stuff coming out of Disney recently. I didn't even think that highly of Moana. Then yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for like the next big thing. I feel like these, like the Disney princesses as of late and everything, they've just kind of been blending together. And like Vanellope. She's actually interesting and unique, but like nobody's really bringing her up when we want to talk about Disney princesses.
She love Vanellope. She is though.
She is. She's a Disney princess, and it was really funny that they like had the whole thing in Ralph Breaks the Internet, but then like the movie was awful, so like it didn't really.
I liked the movie.
Most people did not.
I liked it.
I didn't like the movie.
Well, screw you.
I haven't seen it.
You should. And then maybe that's the next one we can talk about.
I haven't seen a lot of a good bit of recent stuff. I haven't seen Soul. I haven't seen Ralph Breaks the Internet. I haven't seen Onward. I've been going to watch Onward.
Onward also has some criticism with it, yeah.
Yeah, I guess on that note, what is, like, I guess the most recent Disney or animated film that you felt was a banger? Or, I guess the one that comes immediately to mind, maybe.
I'm trying to think of the last movie I watched. The last animated movie I watched. I watched so much animated stuff in general. Weathering with You was great.
Oh, that was fantastic.
That was a banger. Weathering with You was great. Makoto Shinkai. Anything Makoto Shinkai does, you know, I'll cry over. Like, the creator of Your Name, one of the most successful animated films of all time. And then he did a movie right afterwards, and that was also well received, super well received. Mm-hmm. Not the same level of reception, but still pretty highly received. And that movie was a banger without having to be like this epic about world changing and crazy animals and kung fu. It was a very interesting love story, and it was so visually well told, and the characters were so more than just 2D cutouts. That is what made the film interesting. And I mean, that's just one thing. There are two aspects of like a film that is fantastic. But The Weathering with You and Your Name, both just fantastic films. I thought those were both bangers. Lupin the Third, the first was also really fun, but I'm not sure if it's a banger, but it was really fun.
That was a lot of fun. That was a great movie.
Very, very, very fun movie. But yeah, if I were to talk about anything I'd find animated that was like a banger, Disney would be low on the list.
I'll say, as far as like Disney, Pixar specific goes, I think Coco was...
Oh, Coco was amazing.
I think that was definitely one of their best movies.
I forgot about Coco, honestly. And I think color-wise it was great. Color-wise it was great. I think the story was... I think it was good. I don't think it was their best. I think the music was great, though.
Remember me.
Yeah. Great music. That movie made me, and still makes me want to, like, just learn Spanish. Like, I want to have that in my repertoire of things that I know how to do and speak Spanish. Just like, I want to learn more about the culture. I want to just get into it because that film was very inspirational.
I think that one... This could be a whole other podcast, but that one...
It is
like,
another podcast. We're starting right now.
Round two. Like, that compared to Raya hit on, like, conveyed adult themes stronger. Like, and I'm not sure... I'll have to do more thinking as to why, but... and maybe even revisit the movie, but...
Yeah, we can watch it again.
Yeah. All that to say, I agree in the sense that Raya was good, but not a...
It wasn't a banger. It just wasn't a banger.
Good time, but not a banger, sadly.
That's an interesting choice. I would not have expected you to pick that, and I don't know why. I guess you and I haven't watched too many animated films together recently. I don't think you've seen Mitchells versus the Machines, have you?
I have not.
Oh,
It's a very fun movie.
Oh, it's so good.
We can review that one, too.
Oh, that would be great.
Because that's so very art-centric.
I've been slacking so hard on my animated movies.
That's fine. We've been keeping up for you.
Yeah. Like, the Mitchells versus... Oh my god, we should also watch Promare.
You watched Promare without me?
I'm sorry.
I'm leaving. This podcast is over.
Anyway.
I'll see you guys next month.
Anyway, like, Mitchell's, like, we should definitely watch those two movies, because, like, The Mitchells versus the Machines is, like, a love letter to animation and art kids. Promare is, like, a fever dream. It just goes hard on the visuals the entire time. But yes, I would love to do those as, like, review episodes.
I'm
Yeah.
pogging.
Hmm?
I'm pogging.
Pog. Pog Jam.
Pogging.
Straight poggers, dude. Anyway, don't get your phones. Yeah, I think those would be fun movies to review, because they are so fun!
And if you have other recommendations, leave them in the comments.
Yeah! Do that!
Comments we get.
Right!
Hey.
I mean, we
That's
do
why
get comments.
That's why we do the what are they called? Call out? No.
Calling?
Call to action.
Call to action! Yes! Leave comments of videos or movies you'd like us to see. Or anything.
Look, leave movies in the description box for me to tear apart. This is what the audience comes here for. This is what they really come here for. Look, I will shit on any movie you ask me.
What about your name? Since you love it so much.
I will shit on any movie that wasn't directed by Makoto Shinkai. Yeah.
I mean, what movies do you think are bangers? Do
Yeah!
you think Raya's a banger? We disagree.
We disagree.
But share your points anyway. We're open to opinions.
Does your opinion suck?
No
Well,
opinions suck. They're just
different opinions. No opinion sucks, it's just different.
we here at Cali Creates believe that we here at your company, Cali Creates, we believe that all opinions are valid.
Except for the bad ones.
Except for the bad ones.
Except for the really bad ones.
My legs hurt.
Oh. We have been doing this for a while. Alright, so closing thoughts. Go.
movies are fun.
We're never doing this again. That's my closing thought.
Oh no.
Never doing another movie review.
There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. There he goes.
As
Alright.
Marshaun drifts into the distance.
Alright. Thanks everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, we're sorry.
Hey, we can't. That's copyrighted.
We can never apologize. It's copyrighted.
Not copyrighted.